Welcome back to another Trade Alts technical analysis. In this video, I'm going to be going over Bitcoin, recent price action, talking about the crazy market conditions that we're seeing, all the volatility market-wide. For those of you using trading bots, obviously you're well aware of the recent volatility that we've had. So I kind of wanted to go over that real quick. So this is my profits from, well, now, this is as of daily close. So this is technically yesterday now, but another really nice day, 763 bucks in profit. Can't argue with that. And, obviously, like I mentioned here, volatility helps quite a bit. And so somebody, I did get this comment. It seems like no matter what days it is or what day it is, your bots are always working. Gotta learn from you. And like, for those of you who have been following me for trading bots, like, I just want to be very clear. Like, I don't do anything different than what I share in my videos. So I'll kind of just read to you what I wrote here, but I don't turn the bots off. I don't care what the market does. I really just let them do their job. And like, that's for me, like, bots are about passiveness. Like, that's the only reason why I personally use trading bots, is because I like to run them passively. And I trade on a normal day-to-day basis as it is, manually, but I like to have these bots running in the background because like they do a decent job of generating income. Right? So like, do I have bots that are deep in safety orders right now? Absolutely. Am I worried about them? No. And like, my answer is always the same. I always tell people the exact same thing. So like, volatility, it's the name of the game. That's what we wait for. When there's extreme volatility like you're seeing in the market right now, that's when your bots are doing their thing. That's when they're making money. They're getting deep in safety orders. They're getting out. Hopefully they're getting out of those, the being deep in safety orders as well and locking in the profit. But like so I mentioned here, you can see from my active deals reserve, which is this number, it's 2,600, that I have some bots that are sitting in orders just like everybody else. So like, I still have some trading bots that are 20 safety orders, 15 safety orders deep, but it's totally normal. And when you're looking at kind of the market conditions that we're seeing right now. So my funds got pretty low yesterday. It was one of the deepest drops I've seen. And by my funds, I'm talking about like my funds that I have available for my trading bots to use, right? So it was definitely one of like the deepest drops that I've seen from that perspective in a long time. But patience is key. Let them do their job. And like, if you're able to let your bots do their job, you have good days. And 41.80 in profit. So I made $4,180 in profit in the last week alone. Not bad for doing basically nothing. So that's kind of like what I want to say about, that's kind of what I want to say about trading bots before I get into the Bitcoin analysis. And I'm kind of addressing my Discord community, my Telegram community. Know like why you're in this, right? For those of you who are using trading bots. And like, have a plan. And like, my plan has been the same since day one as it is now, and I'm almost 11 months into it. I set the bots, I give them the parameters, and I let it go. And I don't worry about what happens day to day. Like, that's, I have my bot settings the way that they are, and it's for a reason. And it's for this reason, because like, you have to give yourself spacing to allow your bots to work through this kind of like crazy market volatility that we've seen over the last couple of days. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with trading bots. I'm going to move into the Bitcoin technical analysis now. So let's get into that. So I'm going to start off by taking a quick look at Bitcoin dominance here and just kind of walking you through this chart. So I did cover this in a recent video, but I kind of wanted to do an update on it. And it's kind of frustrating because TradingView ended up deleting a lot of my charts, I've noticed. Thankfully, they didn't delete my Bitcoin chart, but they deleted quite a few of my altcoin charts for some reason. So I had to recreate everything. So this is a Bitcoin dominance chart, and I'll just go through it really, really quickly. So essentially, you can see here back in 2017, this is when altcoins just absolutely ran on a rampage. Dominance was in the mid 90s, which is pretty insane. And, you had this insane altcoin season, essentially. Like, altcoins absolutely, if you're in altcoins in 2017, you killed it. You can see the dominance came all the way down to mid 30s. And this was your blow off 20K top. before everything kind of went to hell after that. For those of you who are trading in 2018, that was a lot of fun. But anyway, so this is kind of when dominance bottomed out. And then, you know, obviously, like this was your 2018, 2019, it's kind of like your bear market here. But really, you know, altcoins, you know, Bitcoin was dropping as well, you know, obviously, but altcoins were getting absolutely massacred versus Bitcoin. And this is what it looks like on a dominance chart. Like if when you see dominance like have price action like this, it's really bullish. And my goodness, like altcoins were getting absolutely destroyed, right? So anyway, you can see this is, and the reason why I started my fib pool from here is because, and not all the way up here, it's simply because this is where things got really bearish, right? So as far as a Bitcoin dominance chart goes, like this is insanely ugly, insanely bearish. But again, if you're trading altcoins in 2017, you probably did really well. But this is what that looks like. So essentially, you know, again, this is where it started to cascade. So this is why I took my pull from here. And then obviously your all-time low on Bitcoin dominance. But you came back up to your 618 here, which is always like when you have a pull that is literally measured in years, right? That's literally measured in years. A lot of times the 618 is incredibly well respected. So like this is a really important Fibonacci level. I will be covering that in a future module. But you came right up to your 618, rejected. You know, altcoins versus Bitcoin got a bit of relief during this time frame before Bitcoin started ripping again. This was the end of 2020. Pushed all the way back up, actually swing filled this high over here, right back into your golden pocket before just dropping. Literally the floor dropped out from underneath it, and that's where we're at. So fast forward to, you know, 2021. It's been a phenomenal year so far for altcoins. You know, alts versus Bitcoins, you know, alts versus Bitcoin doing it very well. And, you know, again, this is what that looks like, right? So you had kind of your big swing into the golden pocket before you had a really big rejection out of it. Couple months of sideways, you know, a couple months of sideways here, wasn't a whole lot going on, you know, talking about Bitcoin dominance. And then boom, like the last month is just red candle, red candle, red candle, all the way down to your other 618. So this, you know, I didn't actually pull this in the previous video. I did this earlier today, and I was kind of surprised. Like I didn't really think about that. You know, I did this pull obviously, but usually I always will pull to see where the next 618 is, but this is a massive level right here. So this is something to pay attention to. So again, this is, you know, I started out with Fibonacci on a high time frame, so you can see that. One thing that I want to turn on is your ichimoku, just to kind of see what's going on, because you all know how much I like ichimoku. And really, obviously, like this is you don't need, you know, like this is very bearish. Okay, you know, price, and by price obviously Bitcoin dominance, but I just say price because that's what I'm used to saying, came out, you know, you're closed below cloud. It's obviously far below where your cloud is. You have a bearish TK cross. Let me actually see if this is actually confirmed. No, oh, they're the same. So, I mean, this is like a very strong trend to the downside. You actually haven't had your Tenkin like fully technically cross your Kijun, but it's good enough. This is like very strong trend to the downside. Your cloud actually flipped bearish. I mean, this is like telling you just at a quick glance that's saying, hey, like this is not healthy. You know, like if you're looking at this, you know, but I mean, again, for those of you in altcoins, this is good. Like this is kind of what you want to see. So if you're in the altcoins, you know, you want this to look bearish. That means you're probably doing very well against Bitcoin. But you've come to this critical juncture here. So this is your 618. The thing is, does anything else line up here? So again, from an Ichimoku standpoint, this is pretty bearish. You're going to get a bearish TK cross, which you can look for your Tenkin, which is your blue line, your Kijun, which is your yellow line. You can look to see, you know, as if we do get a bounce here, this is very likely to act as resistance. And then obviously your cloud is bearish. So that tells you that like Bitcoin dominance is bearish on the weekly time frame. So I'm going to turn this back off. I'm going to turn on one at a time. So I'm going to turn on my value areas first. And you can see here, this is where my value areas are. So obviously price is below all value areas, telling you that it's pretty bearish. And, you know, this is likely going to be very important resistances back to the upside. So if we do get a bounce here, this is now a few more added resistance levels. So I'm going to turn, well, I guess I'll leave them on just for now, but it's about to get really, there'll be a bunch of levels all over the place. So I'll leave those on, I guess. It's kind of messy. My apologies for that. But you have an old weekly level here. This weekly level is from 2018. So this is almost 3 years old, and you're bouncing off of that as we speak. So you have your weekly and your macro 618. So there's multiple confluences telling you here that like, this is actually pretty, you know, this is a decent candidate to have a bounce. So, you know, a bit of a relief bounce. It wouldn't surprise me, or even kind of recreate something similar like this. Maybe we range for a few months. And considering what Bitcoin just did, you know, we took out a pretty important level. And, you know, I'll kind of like spoil it for you a little bit, but I do think Bitcoin's going to kind of go into a bit of a consolidation phase for a while. I'll talk about that when I get to the Bitcoin chart next. But with dominance here, this is a decent area to possibly get a little bit of a relief bounce going. So the same applies to the upside. This quarterly level at 53.2, pretty important now. So this is resistance. If, you know, you get a weekly close above this quarterly SR level, then naturally I will look to these levels up here. So your monthly level, your macro value area low, you know, let's say hypothetically that this is the low, which it's, I wouldn't say that it is for sure right now, but if I did a fib pull, you can see what other levels line up. So your 382 bearish Fibonacci retracement is sitting kind of right in between this macro value area low and your monthly. So around, you know, just below 60, essentially. Like your quarterly is a big level. If this is reclaimed, I would look up to this monthly level next. And naturally, like if you're going to get that bounce, it means Bitcoin is going to put the hurt into the alts for a little bit. So that's what's, you know, if you see this quarterly reclaim, naturally, this is kind of my next area of interest as far as dominance goes, which, you know, again, Bitcoin is going to put the hurt into alts for a little bit. And then if this is reclaimed, right, not to get too far ahead of myself, because I don't think this is going to happen anytime soon. Like this is like you're likely to get a move back up to this monthly level, macro value area low. Like you're talking at least a month, honestly. I mean, at least like it would have, you know, it would at least you're talking a month or even a couple months out before like I think this is probably relevant again. But I just want to talk about it while I'm here. Okay, so anyway, if you get above 60 and you enter back into this value area low, that's when like this starts to look kind of like, wow, that really might have been the bottom. You know what I mean? Because if you get acceptance back into the macro value area low, then, you know, you start pushing up to the other range levels. And that would signify, you know, maybe a little bit late, but that would signify us as, wow, like that, like this is looking to push higher. So that's essentially, you know, again, that's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next month. It might not even happen for another few months. Could be, who knows? Could be a long time, to be honest with you. But that's kind of like how I would read this chart, right? So to the downside, obviously you're sitting on pretty key support level right here. If this is lost, the quarterly level's next. And then you have your yearly, which is a massive level, right? The thing I will say, and so for those of you who are in trading bots, and I keep getting this question, you know, what are you going to do in a bear market? And by the way, this is not a bear market. Like for people who are thinking this is like we turned into a bear market, I'm telling you, like this isn't like stop the bots. Oh my goodness, like we're all gonna go bankrupt. Like no. Like this is not what I'm looking for. I'll tell you from a dominance perspective to give you a hint, because this is going to be in one of the trading bot videos that I discuss at a future date. When I do include what my strategies are going to be when the market does actually change, right? So when it looks like we're actually topping, or like, you know, like when Bitcoin gets to, you know, its next all-time high, whatever that is, or like, you know, for the cycle, that kind of speak, right? I'm going to be talking to you about kind of what some of the things that I'm going to be looking for in terms of when I'm going to switch my bot strategy over. And I don't anticipate that being for quite a while, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. if we come down to this yearly level here, so low 40s, so what is this, 43.28, you start getting into this territory, especially anywhere near like this previous all-time low, right? You start to breach this yearly level and start to push into these monthlies. That's when I'm going to get, I won't use this, I won't say I'm going to get concerned, but this is when I am going to start saying, okay, like, we're likely at some pretty important supports here. I would be shocked if we just saw this kind of continue down and breach this, you know, this low without some kind of bounce. Like, I would be really surprised. But this would tell me from a historical perspective, essentially, to be really careful in that sense. And like, the thing is, right, if you get into this kind of these lower dominance levels that historically have been the bottom, right? It doesn't mean that, you know, we're going to come back down here and then, you know, instantly pop back up. Like, that's not it. But what this tells me is like things start to kind of, you know, I would say like the light is coming at the end of the tunnel, essentially. And it's telling me, hey, like, it's time to start paying attention to things that maybe, you know, we might start seeing things change around as far as altcoins versus Bitcoin goes, if that makes sense. So like, all the profits that I've taken in alts, all of the, you know, the way that my bots are set up right now, which again, it takes profit in altcoins, that's when you'll probably see me start to change my tune a bit and start to switch my bots around, how they work, what they're taking profit in. All the money that I've made in altcoins, you know, trading, you know, from the trading bots, I might maybe switch them into Bitcoin. Like, this is kind of like really getting ahead of myself, but it's just to give you an idea of kind of what will be going on in my mind if we do visit these lower levels. So that's kind of like a really in-depth, you know, kind of detailed Bitcoin dominance analysis. My apologies, it went a little bit longer than I would have liked, but it is important though, because it's important for you to know kind of where we're at. And again, I will say this level is a very important level. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like, we're, you know, we're probably not going to know for a couple, you know, maybe a week or two, maybe even a couple weeks. You know, kind of, are we going to bounce from here and maybe get a bit, you know, this dominance going to get a bit of a relief rally, alts are going to get hurt a little bit, or do we continue down? Do we lose this support level and we come to this quarterly? Like, we'll have to wait and see what happens. My guess is I think things cool down for a bit and, you know, we end up doing something like this. That's kind of my guess, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there. So let's go to Bitcoin. We're going to move on to our log growth curve here. I know quite a few people have asked about this. I did a video back, I think it was like February or early March. I did a video on this and kind of like talked about it, but it's really simple. I'm not going to go over the entire, you know, the entire analysis again, but really as far as it goes locally, you know, that's kind of funny. So I haven't updated this, but this was, we had a, you know, 19, almost a 20% drop from the highs and then a bit of a relief bounce. So this was kind of the first section where people's bots were getting hammered, right? And then we get a bit of a relief bounce. And I was like, guys, it gets much worse than that. You know what I mean? Like, it gets worse than that. So like, you need to be prepared. And then sure enough, couple days later, we get the full, you know, we get another move down. So really from this swing high, which is your all-time high, down to your current low, you've actually had a 26.67% drop, which again is pretty much, if you look, like, this is in line with prior corrections, right? So like, this isn't anything out of the ordinary. I mean, if you go back to the last market cycle that we were in, you know, when you had that 20K blow off top, there were several 30+% corrections along that way, right? It's not like it's fully expected. And again, in this run up, we had a 31.3% correction. This was your, what was this, your 42K top down to 29K, something like that. So we had an even worse correction here. The thing is, this might not be over. So that's something to keep in mind. But this is just, you know, as this current low sits, it's, you know, 27% essentially, which is in line. Like, it's not out of the ordinary for stuff that we have seen so far. But something that I'm looking at right now, so first of all, your monthly pivots here. Your R1 monthly pivot resistance, I'm going to delete this green box so you can see it. But R1 monthly pivot, nice resistance. Your monthly pivot itself, nice support. You lose it, back test it, and how we push down to the S1 pivot. So this is something, you know, as far as monthly pivots go, doing a pretty nice job. Your next support level, pivot wise, is down here at 38. This is what, 38,600-ish. So just keep that in mind as far as pivots go. But in another week, we are going to get a new set of monthly pivots. So we'll have to kind of see where that lines up. I don't really anticipate getting down. I do not think that we're going to get down to 38K before this month is over. But this is crypto. It definitely could happen. I just don't really think it will, to be honest. But one level, and the reason why I'm starting on this log growth curve is because this midpoint here, and I had mentioned that in the video months back, this is a really important part of the log growth curve. If you come down to this pivot, I'm sorry, not the pivot, but the middle of the growth curve here, so this is your center line, which is currently sitting around 42K. So I will tell you, there's quite a bit of reasons why 42K, if that ends up being revisited, is like a really nice level to take a shot. So I will say that. And like, I like the fact that this is lining up right around in that region. So you're looking around 42K, low 42K, something like that. And really, you know, you can kind of see like kind of what we're looking at and what I'm monitoring this year is Bitcoin. First of all, are we going to hit the top of the growth curve? Because that's basically marked. I mean, it's not basically, it has marked just about every macro top there's been in Bitcoin history. So this is very relevant. This is something that I am monitoring. But the thing is, the longer that it goes on, you can see that the log growth curve is ascending, right? So the longer it takes to hit the top, the better, because that means the price is going to be higher, if that makes sense. You can see it just keeps going up and up and up. So the longer that Bitcoin, you know, takes, the longer, like the more time it takes to hit the top, the better it is, because in theory, we should see, you know, a higher Bitcoin price. So that is, you know, again, this is log growth curve, really simple. Like, I want to say it's really simple, but this is something that I've covered a few times now. And, you know, 42K, interesting level. So let's go take a look at the actual Bitcoin chart on Bybit. So this is the pitchfork that we've been monitoring for quite a while too. And I'm not going to go into like, well, I guess I will. I mean, this is basically, so this is your pitchfork and you're talking your 2018 low. So this is your $3,000 low up to your 14K swing high in June of 2019, down to your coronavirus March 2020 low. So basically this is the pitchfork. And it has been very well respected, I must say. So again, we came up to the midpoint, pushed up to your, this is your golden pocket of the pitchfork, which was also your 42K top. So really good confluence there, pushes down. And, you know, basically we've been grinding higher ever since. So now, like, interesting. So this is your 0.5 fib right here. This is, you know, this caught your wick low so far. So it's be curious to see if like anything else lines up, right? And interesting enough, you know, again, I don't think we see 42K anytime. Like, you know, I do think that we're going to get a little bit of a relief bounce, if I had to be honest. But 42K is your 382. So that's interesting, right? So like, this is nice to see this kind of lining up as well. And then obviously like there's a weekly here. So like right here, you know, this is almost a month from now. But there you can see like your weekly crosses with your 382. That's interesting. So like if that happens to play out somehow, like maybe if we do end up consolidating here for a while, maybe this could be a nice area to watch. Nice area for confluence there. But I just wanted to kind of take a look at the pitchfork, see what was going on. So that, I'm going to turn that off now. Turn off log scale. And put this on. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? There you are. Oh boy. So this, go ahead and delete this so that you can see again, nice bounce. Go ahead and Get rid of that. So ichimoku is something I've been talking about quite a bit. You see, you lost your kijun, so right, bounce, bounce, bounce. You know, you got a bounce off of here, but ended up losing it. Now we're sitting right on Kumo supports. This is your cloud support right here. You do have some wicks into this area, and I did post a chart over in Discord that I can show. You know that there was basically. I mean, let me try to go find it real quick. It's hilarious, by the way. So here it is. So this is a chart, and like I was sharing, like the green box, right? I expected, you know, I don't want to say expect is a terrible word to use, but this was definitely a turnaround zone. A lot of technical reasons in this region for this to be, you know, be a bounce point, and there you go. So you caught the low inside of your green box here. I was really looking for a nice trade opportunity here, which I am currently in a long from this region. And you know, price, we're kind of sitting, I mean, this is old now, but like you can see we're exited. And again, like I told you, so yeah, this is basically where that box is. This isn't the same chart that I'm using because I wanted to clear all my levels on it and use this just so you can see your ichimoku. But you're sitting right on this cloud support, which there's a lot of other reasons why this is, you know, I was looking for a nice bounce. The thing about this is, does it hold? And that's kind of what, like, I want to see price. I don't want to see price close inside a cloud. Would that be very bearish if that happened? I would say no, but it would definitely, like, I am definitely more neutral now than I was, you know, a week ago. You could say that I'm definitely more neutral. And since we lost this low, which I'll just highlight it. So this white line right here, we haven't closed below it yet, but the fact that we took this level out gives me the feeling that I think this high is in for a while. Do I think that this is the top for the cycle? No, not even close in my opinion. But is this top, like, could this be a top that is in place for a month, 2 months, 3 months, even longer? Absolutely. Taking this low out was kind of a big deal for me. What is that, 50,600? Again, we haven't closed below it, but it kind of doesn't matter. Like, we still took the low, right? And we haven't had, now if we came and took this low and, you know, you see a big reversal off of it, that would start to feel pretty bullish now, wouldn't it? But the fact is we haven't really had a strong bounce off of this level at all. I mean, well, I guess, you know, yesterday's, like, that's a nice wick. But really today, again, we haven't seen, you know, I want to see continuation. I want to see a push back up to challenge these levels again. And we haven't seen that happen yet. Now, what's staring me in the face, and this is the daily time frame, is in about 5 to 6 days, we're looking at possibly getting a bearish TK cross. So this is a big deal to me, and this is on the daily time frame. It's not a small time frame. Like, this is a big deal. What I don't want to see, because I mean, obviously, like, I'm like most people. I think I'd rather prefer price to go up, right? Like, I think everybody's much happier when that happens. But what I don't want to see is this actually confirmed and price closed inside of the cloud. So wherever that is, if that does happen, if this does end up playing out, right? So let's say you get your bearish TK cross, and we're sitting here on, you know, it's the end of the month too, which is also interesting. It's kind of scary. Like, you know, you're going to have your monthly close. We're not sure what that's going to look like. It's still a week out. But again, let's say we're kind of at a similar level to where we are now. You get your bearish TK cross. Then the concerning thing is, oh, hello, Bradley. So new subscriber, Bradley Riggs, welcome. But, one of the concerning things is that if you do get this bearish TK cross and price closes inside a cloud, I'm gonna have to turn this off. But again, if you get your bearish TK cross, which is right here, right? Price closes inside a cloud, your target is the opposite edge of the cloud. So that's where it gets concerning, because depending on where this lines up, you see how flat this Kumo is here, and this literally goes until May 10th before it starts to angle upward, right? But what's this level? It's 40K. It's actually slightly below 40K, but we'll just call it 40K, nice round even number. If we get a bearish TK cross, price closes inside a cloud, I would be looking for 40K. So that's kind of what it would take for me to, you know, to start calling 40K essentially. Like I would say we're only $10,000 away, but that, like, and the thing is, this is a support level. So like if we do manage to make its way, like make our way down here, I would probably be interested in taking a long position off of that, to be honest, because I'm still macro bullish, right? It would take quite a bit for me. Now the thing is, and you can see how far away, now this is angling up. So your bottom of your Kumo, you can see it is angling up. But for this to get totally bearish, you would need, you know, price to be below cloud, have a bearish TK cross, and you would need to see this cloud. You see how far away it is from each other? You would need to see this flip bearish as well. So like we're nowhere near that happening, but if that was to happen, that would signal to me a pretty big time trend change. I would say either that, or like we could be in for months and months of consolidation. Like that's also possible too. But that's kind of what it would take for me to say, wow, like we might, you know, again, if we haven't taken out 65K by then, like this is probably going to be the top for quite a while. Now, not to get too far ahead of myself, and I'll show you this, I'll show you some examples of this in the 12-hour chart when I switch to that. What would be pretty awesome is if you did get your bearish TK cross, even, you know, price comes in cloud, whatever. If you get your bearish TK cross, but then price ends up coming back above it, and you get a bullish TK cross above cloud. So if that was to happen, so let's say price kind of works its way down, you get your bearish TK cross, and we kind of like grind back up and get above, and then this bullishly recrosses again. If that was to happen above cloud, I'd be looking for new all-time highs. Like that would be the signal for me to say, oh my goodness, I need to get long if I'm not already long. And like, you know, I think that we're gonna take another big leg up. So I'm actually going to switch to 12-hour chart just so I can show you, because this has happened, which by the way, this is not good. I'll get into that in a second. And I'm actually going to delete these levels because they kind of get in the way. I mean, you can see some of these other levels that I am watching. But I kind of want to stick to Ichimoku just for this part of the analysis. That way I can kind of get through that. And then I will put the other levels on. That way you can see kind of what I'm looking at. From that perspective, because there is some really good confluence here, which I'll tell you, I know that there's a really good confluence sitting right here, where your Tenkan and your Kijun are currently sitting. So like this is very big resistance, and I'll explain that in a bit. But going back to the bearish, you know, the TK crosses that I'm talking about, this is a perfect example right here. So you have your bearish TK cross, price goes in a cloud, basically hits the other edge of the cloud. Like this is what you're expecting to get out of this trade. Okay, so like if this happens, this confirms, you can, like the play is typically to go short here, because it's a bearish TK cross. Your target is the other end of the cloud. Now whether or not that was a good trade, I'm not going to really sit here and tell you that, but that's essentially what you're looking for. Now what happens is price, and this is kind of what I would like to see play out if we do get the bearish TK cross on the daily. Okay, if you manage to get a bounce and then you see this happen right here, which is your bullish TK recross above cloud, look what happens, right? You get a really big push to the upside and make another, you know, all-time high before you get your pullback. And then what happens again? Check this out. You get another bearish, barely, but it's a bearish cross, and then a bullish recross, and then you get another leg up. So like I actually made a video, I'm not sure when it was it February? No, it was probably this one, but I did a video like this the day that this was happening, I'm pretty sure, and like I actually took a long position off of this. Like there's a you can go back and watch it. It's like early March. But anyway, it's one of my first tutorials that I did, because I wanted to speak like just on the bullish TK recross above cloud, like how you would play that. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm looking for to happen on the daily. So I'll switch back just real quick. So again, you get your bearish cross in a 6 days, whatever this ends up being, if that does play out. Let's say price kind of makes its way down into the cloud, ends up working its way out, and you're able to basically get a bullish, you recross bullishly. That's the signal. That would be a signal for me that says, wow, like definitely need to look to get long. That's just me. So back to the 12-hour chart. Currently, how does it look? It looks pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty bad. You got, so price is fighting. You're right here at the edge of the cloud here. I really would like to see this push up from here. And I think like it wouldn't take too much if we can get a bit of a relief rally. It would be nice to get price kind of back in this general area. I don't really want price to exit cloud. Wicks are fine, but I really don't want to see any 12-hour closes outside of cloud. But kind of because the only thing that would be missing at that point is this, which the cloud is still bullish, right? So even if price is out of cloud, again, it's not what I want to see. This is bearish, this is bearishly crossed, and you can see the Tenkan is looking to come down pretty steep. Now, whether it does, we'll have to see how it plays out over the next few days, but it's definitely like, this is obviously pretty bearish, right? But your cloud is still bullish for the time being. So what I don't want to see, because for a 12-hour perspective, like 12 hours is a time frame that I put a lot of weight into. I definitely put a lot of weight into the 12-hour, and I love to trade the 12-hour chart. If you see this cloud thin out and eventually bearishly cross, price is below cloud, this is bearish, that is like you're full on bear mode as far as the 12-hour goes. This is a trend, like full on trend change, and really like you're looking for lower prices. So the 12-hour is going to give you an earlier indication of what's likely going to happen on the daily, if that makes sense. Like this is probably going to give you a heads up saying, hey, like if this flips bearish, price closes outside of cloud, like we got, like it could be problems, right? And I want to say problems, but this kind of goes back into the, like, do I think that we could enter a consolidation phase for Bitcoin? Yes. And this is one of the reasons that's telling me that that's possible. Because again, if this flips bearish, it's likely that we're going to have some continued downside. And really, like we could go all the way down to, you could go all the way down to 30K. And depending like how you judge market structure, right? Like you really could form a larger consolidation that takes months and months to resolve before getting another leg up. Like it really, it definitely could happen. So like it wouldn't surprise me if we ended up playing kind of a longer term correction if this flips bearish. Now, obviously, as it stands right here, right now, I'd really like to see this push up, kind of come back into the cloud here, and like, it gives you another 5 days or whatever to figure out kind of what's going to happen next. But I will say, like, I'm just going to pull these levels right now so you can see it. But if you pull your value areas, look where your point of control lines up. Okay, so I'll just mark these out for you real quick. And I put big range value area high because this is a larger range. So when I'm doing my charts, I like to know where, like if we're in a much larger range overall, I like to know where those value areas are, as far as like if I'm using the same chart for trading on lower time frames. I like to know where those levels are too, right? But I'll tell you, just by looking at your value areas without having any other levels on your chart, you can see it's pretty well respected. So we pushed outside of your value area high, price came back in, rejected, right? So you got acceptance back into your value area, rejected off your value area high, flushed right through your point of control, came back up. A lot of resistance around this area, 12-hour Kijun, perfect resistance, right? And boom, you just flush down and look, come back up, back test your value area low. And it's been like, this has been the struggle. So key levels for me, just by looking at your value areas, if you're able to reclaim 52, you know, what is this, 52,230, something in this neighborhood, right? I would, like, you know, you're probably going to have some, I would say around 53 to 54,000 is going to be, you know, kind of a tougher area in my opinion. But if you're able to reclaim this value area low, I'm going to tell you just by looking at this is pretty ugly. And like, I could probably get into, you know, what I would also do is, would like to pull a fib. Well, first, there's a few other levels that I know are here that I want to mark off. So there's a weekly level. Whoops. So 60K. You have this bad boy. 45K. Those are the two that I'll probably leave right now. What was on a 12-hour? One thing I can do is pull a fib retracement. High to low. All-time high down to your current low and see if anything lines up. So the interesting thing here, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to make it too confusing, but your 0.5 fib here lines up perfectly with your Kijun and your Tenkan. This isn't a surprise. It's kind of like a dynamic 0.5 fib as it is. But what does that line up perfectly with? Your big range point of control. So if you're able to reclaim this value area low, typically you look up to your next value area, which this point of control is a massive, massive resistance level right now. Okay. If you're able to reclaim this value area low, this is kind of the next general area that you would look at. But the fact that it's your 0.5 fib, it's where your Tenkan and your Kijun are currently sitting, and it's the point of control of this entire range right here, right? This is going to be huge, huge resistance. And this is really a really important level for bulls to reclaim. Like if you're able to reclaim this point of control, then naturally, like you would think, okay, like maybe this has a chance. Like then then you start looking for where your value area high is, which by the way, lines up really nicely with your 786 retracement. But we are so far away from that right now. Like this isn't really that relevant, but that's just it just kind of shows you like kind of how I would look to trade this, right? Level by level. But we're not even above the value area low yet. So like this is your first hurdle. If you're able to reclaim that, then you can start to look up. Obviously, there's going to be resistances. You know, you have your 382 fib right at 54,200. Again, 54 to 54.9, something like that. Like there's probably going to be a fair amount of resistance through here. But this point of control, huge, huge, huge resistance right now. So like if we do end up coming up to here, I usually don't like to short or long. I usually don't like to take trades off of the point of control because you're literally like, you look at it, you're sitting right in the middle of the range. Like this is not really a good risk reward type of trade. Typically, again, you're sitting right in the middle of the range, right? But I will say that because of, depending if we make it up here, what other, if there's other confluences that are telling me like this is still really strong resistance, this could be a nice short. Again, not financial advice, but this could be a really nice short opportunity because your invalidation is really simple. If you reclaim this and you show strength, right, and you reclaim this level, then you exit. Like that's essentially, Wick wouldn't do it for me, but like if you're seeing strength coming into this level, it's probably better to wait for a rejection, like to show signs that like this area actually is going to act as the resistance that I think it is. Like I wouldn't necessarily just have resting bids sitting here, in the order books ready to fill my position. I would definitely want to see this happen in real time, but this, I'm telling you, is like very likely a strong, strong, strong resistance at this level. So that being said, this is a really strong resistance too right now. This is your first hurdle that you need to get through. But on the 12-hour time frame, right now it's kind of looking a little bit rough. But if I had to flip a coin right now and up or down, I really do think that we're gonna get a bit more of a relief bounce. It's also the weekend now. Stock markets close, gives crypto a bit of a chance to breathe. And I really am kind of hoping for a bit of a relief bounce here, which again, for those of you in trading bots, you're going to welcome that. It's going to be, that's definitely what we want. But these are the levels to watch for sure. So I did find my other chart. I just realized that I was not on my normal chart. So that's where my settings or my other levels went. So I actually went and found this real quick. But anyway, so basically here's the green box that you saw in the post earlier on. And there was a lot of technical levels lining up in this specific region. You can see here the bottom of this is actually around the 0.5 fib of your, and this is literally your 28K low. So this is your swing low from that first 31% pullback that we had all the way up to your current all-time high. So this is a really big Fibonacci pull, really one that's pretty important if you were to ask me. But this is where this green box came into play. Okay, so here's your 0.5 fib, and there's some other confluences in here that I shared with my OGs. But anyway, the thing that I wanted to point out, and if you remember when I went over the log growth curve, where the center, right, where your midpoint of the growth curve was coming right into, was 42,000. So you have a naked point of control sitting at 42,950, okay? But you also have a new naked point of control at 53,520. So if I zoom in here, so this 53,520. So you have a naked point of control here. So this is kind of like, I would like to come clean this up. This is going to be resistance, but I'd like to come clean this up. And you see it's right by the daily Kijun. So be interesting, see if we can push up there. And obviously then you have your big range point of control that I talked about in I talked about just a little bit ago. But to the downside, you have your naked point of control at 42,950, which is basically sitting on your 618. And this is your 618 from, again, this is your 28K swing low, right? The swing low before this epic move to the upside, all the way up to your all-time high, current all-time high. So this is a very important golden pocket in my opinion. And where does that sit? 42K, right? So 42K region. So you see the 6.6 is 41,124 up to your 618, which is 42,643. This general zone is definitely an area of interest for myself. Now, another thing, the bottom of the cloud, really important, right? So let's say, again, hypothetically, you get your bearish TK cross, price closes inside a cloud, Chico spans below price, which it already is. There's just this purple line over here. Where's your target? The opposite edge of the cloud. So it'll be interesting to see if this actually plays out and you get price to rotate towards the opposite end of the cloud. You see how much confluence there is depending on when if this happens and when it happens, right? Like depending on the time, like how far in the future does this take place, if it even does. But you can see here, like there's quite a bit of confluence for this general area for support. Like there's a lot of reasons for this area to be a really nice trade area. But again, that's all just looking way ahead. Nothing is even confirmed yet, but this is part of like getting your trade plan together, right? Like looking ahead, finding interesting trade zones, just like I did with this green box. So like, again, I love my green boxes. If you've been following me for any length of time, typically like I spend quite a bit of time. And when I do highlight a green box, my hit rate on them is pretty good because it doesn't really get a green box here unless there's several confluences that are telling me like this is a strong level. So I don't put my green boxes here unless I'm like, hey, I feel pretty darn good about this. But anyway, obviously if this area is lost and in the future we start rotating down, this is another area that could have me drawing a green box here, like depending, I would look at pivots. So for instance, yearly pivot, it's not going to really show anything. Well, R1's down here. Again, we're getting new monthly pivots. So there's no pivots that line up yet here, but who knows? Maybe there's a monthly pivot that lines up. We're getting a new weekly pivot tomorrow. There's nothing that lines up, but we'll have to see like if that changes. But this gives you an idea of like other areas of confluence that I look for when I'm looking for trades. But I'll tell you right now, if we come down to this zone, I think this could be a very nice swing trade potential. And again, the invalidation for this trade is really simple. Like if you look at it just from an ichimoku standpoint, if this is bearish, if price closes below cloud, that's it for me. Like that's my signal to say, okay, this isn't working out, right? This is not like if price exits cloud, closes below cloud, that's kind of something that says, wow, like we're, we could be in for some more pain. We could be in for a longer term consolidation, whatever it is, right? But like this is a nice area. As it sits today, again, this could possibly change in the future. Maybe there's reasons to say, I'm not going to take this trade or whatever. I'm not interested anymore. But there are multiple technical reasons right now that are telling me this is a nice opportunity if we do get this in this time, right? Obviously, if price doesn't visit this level by mid-May, then this trade goes away, right? Like, as far as using the cloud for confluence kind of goes away. Well, really, I guess you would say, mid to like third week of May, something like that. So that's kind of how much time we have, because you're going to see here that the cloud is going to start rising. At least it's angled to rise up here. So we'll have to see how it goes. But anyway, this is kind of like, I just really wanted to go over Bitcoin dominance. I want to talk about the market for a little bit. And the thing is, I'm kind of in favor. Again, you're sitting on daily, like this is a support level, right? You wicked into the green box area. You're still closing outside of the cloud. And really, like, this is another kind of support level that's really important. So I will say this has been a pretty, brutal move to the downside. I would be shocked if we just kind of kept, coming down. Could we? Absolutely. But I think that, this is a bit overextended. I like this as a low as it currently sits. I do like this area as it sits, but I'm kind of in favor more of an upside bounce. If I had to be honest, if I had to pick up or down, I think I would like to come back up and test this big range value area low, which I had mentioned earlier. If that's able to be reclaimed, you come up, clean up this naked point of control from a couple days ago, and then really start to challenge these. There's a lot of resistance built up in this zone right here, but I would I think that we have a better chance of doing that this weekend than continue downside. But obviously, like I said, I'm in a long, and I'm happy to manage it. I'm actually going to look at it real quick. I'm happy to manage it, but I got a pretty good fill on it, so I'm not stressed out about it too much. But I am looking for, around 52, 52, 250, something like that around here. I do think we get another push up. We'll have to see how that goes. But anyway, kind of a long video, but this is really, I wanted to do this for Discord, do this for Telegram, and kind of give you an idea of what I'm looking at for the market. I am, my mom's actually flying into town, so she doesn't live close to me, so I actually get to see her for a little bit tomorrow. So I will try to do a video, hopefully, in the afternoon, or even do a live stream in the late afternoon tomorrow. I kind of have to see how that plays out. But I would like to go live. It's been a long time. Somebody asked me if I could go live earlier. So I do want to try to do that this weekend, because I think it'd be a lot of fun. But anyway, hope you enjoy this video. Have a nice day. And again, love you guys. Discord community, you guys are awesome. Telegram, you guys are awesome. And this video is going to be private. It's only going to be for you guys. So I'm not going to post this to the rest of the community. I am going to likely just wait to do a live stream. I think, again, try to do it tomorrow. We'll see how it plays out. You guys take care.